So assuming we're going to fix the rest of, let's get the elevation symbols in order, right? So this kitchen section that's labeled kitchen section, that in order for actually the section through the sink, which is what we want, that scope line has to be moved to the sink. Then when I go to that view, select the arrow and go to that elevation view. I'm actually cutting through the sink. Remember, I'm in thin line mode TL, right? This view also needs to show complete. The phasing is really important because that's what it's done there is show that wall to be demoed. So looks like some labels have begun and started to detail things here. Right, these are a bit out of place, and I think largely because so all of this was drawn against the wrong wall. So these symbols, which you've drawn as detailed lines, are much easier drawn as detail items. So this is a really important part of Revit drawing. So let me, it is commendable that you went about trying to create these things, and I did encourage you guys to simply draw if you weren't able to manage to locate the detail items. But let's see if we, so these are pieces of wood, sections through 2x4s or 2x6s or 1xs or whatever that is. So from the annotate menu, those would be detail items, which are misnamed detail components here. But let's go to the insert tab and make sure we have the sectional views of pieces of wood loaded. So I go and open up detail items, which is arranged according to CSI categories. And wood and plastic, division 6, would be wood framing, nominal cut lumber section. So nominal 2x6 is 1.5 by 5.5, 2x4, 1.5 inches by 3.5. So this is where we find those symbols. I think we used 1x3, 1x4, 2x3, 2x4, 2x6. So I'm loading all of those. Annotate. Let's start by finding the 2x4. Annotate, detail component, select 2x4. We have it loaded. Right? So there's a symbol. If it's not the correct orientation, the space bar will rotate it. So we put a couple of these at around the base of the unit, around the sink opening. All right, I'm not being exact with respect to how this would be constructed. I'm basically showing you guys how to detail these things. So I'm going to select all of this right now and just go under the filter and say check none, select all the detail lines. Insulation batting, not sure why we need that here, so I'm going to remove that as well. I'm going to select those and delete them, right? We don't need that either. So somehow or other, we're explaining what we see in this section. So I'm going to go back to the plan. That's what that kitchen section is. Let me see what I have in the actual, finally what we did here. So how did I create that? I used the symbol over here. In sheet A92. Let's go to that sheet and see. So that the initial view looked at not just the kitchen. This is a drawing that elevation symbol points to. It looks at not just the kitchen but the whole open area. And then I called out the part of the kitchen in a detail. Back to Revit. So it was actually that drawing that looked at the kitchen. So I'm going to ignore this section, that section for now, and do this as if we were doing it from the start. That elevation wants to look at all of this, and that wants to be on sheet, elevation 4C wants to be on sheet A92. So let's go to sheet A92. And I'm going to remove this section and place the interior elevation that we created in the floor plan. Four C wants to be there. So elevation 4C. Activate that view. Just changing the parameter, the crop. Okay, that's, and that wants to be also 3/8 of an inch. Let's deactivate it, place it. something is interfering with the visibility. Let's change it to fine. And then we don't need to see what's above the ceiling. So I'm going to crop it. Let's go to Edit Crop. Change the box to cut it tight to the ceiling. Left and right, it should be there. I don't need to see it all the rest of the floor, and that's about the extent of it in that direction. I think that will do it for that view. Deactivate view. Move the label. I'm not sure why that axis symbol is showing up there. Fits the site location. I believe that's what it is. So the project base point, survey point, no. So it looks like that symbol is something. Let's go into visibility graphics. If we turn off the site, I'm not going to bother to try to find it. But that effectively hides some project base point or something. Deactivate the view. Same's got to happen here. So let's activate this view. Visibility graphics. Scroll down to site. Property internal origin. Could it be that? I'm not sure why that was selected, but we don't need any of this site stuff. So there's the kitchen elevation. There's elevation 4C, which is the elevation from which we're going to derive the call out of the kitchen section. Counting office floor plan. So I'm basically going to just delete that view. So 4C, 7A are both on sheet A92. Except that I don't see, or they're not both there. One of them is. Right, 7A is not yet there. Sheet A92, 7A. And that view wants to show the whole other side. So let's go again to the plan. View extent, I want to be looking at everything opposite the kitchen. Again, A92. So there's a little bit of work in setting this up. Let's activate this view, and we have to crop it so that to the ceiling. I like to do it using Edit Crop because that allows me to modify the sketch edit representation of what I'm looking at, right? Deactivate that view. Again, I'm working on interior elevations. So there's a view of the kitchen. There's a view opposite. It's got to be the same scale, so change it back to change it to 3/8. Now we need a drawing key plan for this, right? There's the opposite drawing, the two opposite drawings, but we need this key plan drawing that's showing where I derive, sort of these points of view. So, back to Revit. The easiest way to create a key plan is to duplicate an existing view and then modify its crop area. So we have a key plan for conference room 2. Let's duplicate it. And rename it Key Plan Work Area and Kitchen. Right? And now what we're going to do here, again, remember, always check these 3 boxes when you're modifying a view. We select the crop area and we go to Edit Crop. And now I'm going to change that rectangle to include the area that I'm looking at. Okay, so that's going to be the key plan for my work area and kitchen. I'm also looking at these offices, right? And that's the drawing I want to drag into the center of sheet A92. Somehow the symbols aren't showing, and I think because the elevation symbols themselves may be drawn, the parameter may be set to hide at a lower resolution. So we have to go in the accounting office floor plan. Let's see. That symbol height at scales coarser than 1 to 400. I'm not sure where that comes from, but we want to set that to coarser than 3/8, so that they will show up at 3/8. Now, the other way, coarser than 1/4 inch. Let me see if I can select all of these. No, not going to let me do that. So it looks like that category is hidden for some reason. That's an annotation category, so I'm going to uncheck elevations. I'm not sure why that happened. We're almost there. Okay. The view of the kitchen that we want now, we got to activate this view and create what's called a callout. So view, callout, rectangle, that's going to be a detail, and that's what we want. That's the part that we want to call out. Right? So we created a detail view, and it'll show up under detail view, detail 0 it's called. And I'm going to drag that into this sheet. Let's deactivate the view that we're in and drag detail 0 into that sheet. And what it does is it amplifies it to the next level. So it created that detail at 3/4. We want it to be a little bigger than that. I think we had it at 1.5. Again, show complete. Activate the view. Edit the crop area. Let's bring it tight to what we're looking at. And that's the view that we want, and it's ready to be annotated. Now the detail view derivative is a similar callout, and I'm going to just draw that now. So this view is activated. I'm going to, again, another detail view. I said I want to explain the floor transition here, and that's going to be what goes on sheet A5. So I want to call out where the tile changes to carpet. So this is now another detail called detail 1, but let's go to the sheet where that sheet is missing. So we need to add it. I'm going to create a new sheet, 22 by 34, and call this A5. Details. And I'm going to drag detail 1 into this view. And that should be 3 inches to a foot. All right? Let's activate the view and crop it correctly. I'm just explaining something about so I can select that and give it a different title on the sheet. It's going to say transition from tile to carpet. I don't remember what we called it, but something like that. So now I have A92, that's my transition, that's my call out of the kitchen section. I'm not cutting through the sink yet, now I have to arrange that. So let's go to the floor plan. And I'm going to move crop line, the scope line of that elevation view, because now that when that is called out, if you look at A9, it's actually cutting through the sink, right? It's cutting through the sink here as well, but we can see it a little more clearly. Deactivate view. Let's put it a little bit closer here. So that was the only drawing. Now I haven't annotated these drawings, but I've created all the views necessary and I've put them on sheets. So now when we print the drawings, drawing A5 details is going to be included, even though it's incomplete right now. And if you go to the list of drawings, you'll see that it exists. Well, this wasn't created as a schedule, so let's do that. The list of drawings is actually a schedule. New schedule. It's new sheet list. Sheet list. Is going to be sheet issue date, sheet name, sheet number. Let's move. That's my list of drawings. And that's what I want to drag into my cover page. So there's my sheet list. Revit is pretty poor text formatter, but there's some capability to format that list. So there's my list of drawings. We don't need it. And if I wanted to change the properties of this, like the sort order or whatever it is, I would do that here. Select fields, sorting, I'm going to sort by sheet number. So that gives me the list of drawings in order. Okay, that's a rather long lesson.